You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show. The preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hey folks, it's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The Iron Lady sings that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. We certainly appreciate you guys coming by. As always, for 16 years, 2,000 episodes, we've been bringing you all the smartest and brightest people. You know, we were started 16 years ago this month, somewhere, I think it's around the 19th or so. We hit the 16-year mark. Can you believe we've been podcasting for that long? I'm tired already. Anyway, guys, we have an amazing author on the show. As always, we have the most amazing folks. But refer your friends, neighbors, relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss one, the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. We have the author of the hottest new book coming off the shelf on August 6th, 2024. It's called Slippery Beast, a true crime national history with eels, of all things. Ellen Ruppel Shell is on the show with us today. We're going to be talking about her slippery new book. It's sliding into bookstores, wherever bookstores can be found. And hopefully it'll slide into your cart so that you'll order it online, as it were. Just slide your credit card through there, too, your slippery credit card. Ellen spent years as contributing editor and correspondent for The Atlantic, where she wrote on various issues of the day that intrigued, mattered, or simply caught her fancy. Her reporting, essays, and reviews have also been featured in the Smithsonian, the Scientific American, the New York Times Magazine, Science Magazine, Audubon? I guess I need to read it more. The Guardian, which I do read, the Washington Post, or we like to call the WAPO, the LA Times, the Boston Globe, and other outlets. She's a professor emerita of science journalism at Boston U, and her research focuses on the intersection of science, culture, and society. Welcome to the show, Ellen. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate you sliding by this slippery show. Give us the .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, it's ellenshell.com.
There you go. ellenshell.com. So, Ellen, give us a 30,000 overview of your new book, Slippery Beast.
Wow, 30,000-foot overview. Given that eels tend to find themselves deep underwater, that's quite a ways up in the air. I have to say that I got interested in this topic many years ago when I learned that eels in the state of Maine, where I own a home, baby eels were selling for $25,000 to $3,000 a pound. And
what?
Yeah.
Note to self, get an eel farm.
You got it. And this is the lobster state, right? Maine, the state of Maine. So learning this phenomenal fact, up to $3,000 a pound for baby eels. I mean, who the heck cares about a mess of baby eels? Well, turned out people did. And I, as a consequence of that, after I learned that, I knew I had to write a book about them.
Wow. That's a lot of money for, I mean, I always thought they were kind of the throwaway food of the sea. Like, they're just kind of snaky. And I think when we were kids, we used to believe they would electrocute the crap out of you. I don't know if they still do that, or that was an overreaching sort of meme or something in cartoons.
Yeah. Well, electric eels aren't really eels. Okay.
Oh.
Lampreys aren't really eels. There are 820 species of eels, but my book is about the freshwater eel, right?
Uh-huh.
And the one in particular, the American eel, which we have between the East Coast and the Mississippi River. We have this eel, but the state of Maine is the only significant place the only significant elver fishery. Elvers are baby eels. Oh. And those baby eels are what cost a bundle, not the grown-up eels. Nobody cares one bit about the grown-up eels. It's the baby eels they want.
Yeah, that sounds like me when I was trying to get adopted when I was young. When I grew up, no one wanted me. No one still wants to adopt me. I don't know why. Wait, Could be I'm an adult.
Uh-huh.
So, what's going on with these eels? Why are they so expensive? Are these being served in Michelin restaurants or something we don't know about, or what's the deal?
Well, the baby eels aren't being served in Michelin restaurants, not the ones that are being fished off the coast of Maine. They're being shipped all the way to China, where they're
Uh,
grown up to market size.
uh,
They're slaughtered there and they're prepared there, processed, slathered with sauce, and they're shipped back to the United States to be sold in those sushi restaurants you talked about. So it's
what?
really the craziest supply chain. Not only is the life cycle of the eel insane and crazy, but the supply chain for eels in the United States is nuts.
Well, sounds like they get a lot of travel time in on their flight card. They get to fly to China and back. I mean,
Yep. Yep.
kind of something. I don't
But you
know.
don't get much opportunity to use those points.
They're having more fun than trout. I don't know. But so now you build this as a true crime in natural history. Where's the crime part at?
Well, as you can imagine, when you're talking about something that's selling for $2,000 to $3,000 a
Yeah.
pound, syndicates, criminal syndicates, organized criminals of all kinds, cartels have all gotten involved in this business. And in fact, it is the number one, in terms of money, the number one wildlife crime in the world. Must
Holy
was
crap!
yeah, yeah. You think about tiger paws or elephant tusks, or that's what I thought. Were the big
Yeah.
wildlife crimes. Well, $4 billion a year in illegal elver trafficking. That's baby
Oh,
eels,
wow.
elvers. Yeah. So
Wow.
a lot of crime in the United States. I talk about Operation Broken Glass, which was a
Mm-hmm.
4-year investigation of a poaching ring on the East Coast of the United States. It involved 8 different states
Mm-hmm.
and one kingpin, a grandfather in the state of Maine who was kind of organizing the whole thing, and a huge bust in 2014. They arrested 110 people, a
Wow.
lot of money involved there. Guns were pulled, people were threatened. There was a helicopter chase. It was a big deal.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
is it legal to trade in these eels, or how is the illegal trade going on?
Well, okay, so if you're going to look at the state of Maine, so
Mm-hmm.
there are 3 kinds of commercially available eels, right? There's the
Mm-hmm.
Japanese eel, the European eel, the American eel. But
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the American eel. So there's only one legal elver fishery in the United States, as I mentioned. That is the state of Maine. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tiny one in South Carolina, but that doesn't really count. So it is legal to fish for elvers for a few months each year in the state of Maine, but you have to get a license, and
Mm-hmm.
those licenses are impossible to get now. You
Oh,
can't,
wow.
you can imagine, you can't get them. They had a lottery this year. There were 14 licenses available. 4,500 people applied to get them because it's a jackpot if you get that
Yeah.
license. So there's a quota, and in Maine they can fish only it's less than 10,000 pounds a year. So once that quota has been met, you can't fish them anymore unless you're a poacher.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. Then you can do what
so
you want
then you can do what you want.
within reason, I suppose.
Right? Well, not within reason,
With,
but
within the
yeah.
reason of the law, I suppose.
So that's true around the world. So in Europe,
Wow.
they're banned. European eel is banned outside of the European Union, but it
Huh.
is also smuggled. So these smuggling rings are, as I said, all over the world, and the Caribbean especially. There's
Mm-hmm.
eels coming out of Haiti. Pretty messy business.
Why don't they just make it like pot? They just make it legal, and then the crime part goes away. I think
You
they
know,
did that in
that's
South America somewhere with their drugs.
Well,
Bolivia?
I thought about that argument, certainly when it comes to drugs. But when
Yeah.
it comes to eels, eels have declined by over 95% in Europe and Japan, and they are threatened in the United States as well.
Hmm.
So we got to do something about it, or we're going to lose this jackpot.
I gotta look at my sushi menus harder because I've never seen eel on the sushi menu, and I never would eat it. I don't know. It sounds awful.
Well, is sushi okay? So eel is on many Japanese restaurant menus, but it's not really sushi because you have to cook it. It's not
Ah,
it's not eaten raw. It was thought that it was poison to eat raw, and it's not. It's got a toxin in it that actually is taken care of by your digestive system. Still, you wouldn't want to eat raw eel.
yeah. I'm not gonna eat it either way. They're slimy little beasts, per the cover of your book. Tell us a little about you. You've written on a lot of books about a lot of different variations of thing. I don't see any eels There's the hungry gene, which is kind of what we're talking about, eating eel now.
Yeah.
Tell us about your upbringing. What got you into journalism, got you into writing books, and into the road you've been down for your life?
Well, my goodness. I mean, we're talking ancient history, but I studied biology at university, did some graduate work in that, but at the same time was really interested in the written word, right? So,
Hmm.
English minor, um, really got fascinated in the idea of narrative nonfiction, which is writing novelistically about nonfiction topics, and ended up doing that. It's been my life's work. Been teaching it as well for many many years at Boston University, and I'm interested in, I think you mentioned this in the introduction, the integration of economic science, social justice, and people. So
Hmm.
this book is more about the eel people than it is about the eel itself. Okay, the
Oh, okay.
people who get tangled up with eels and cannot get untangled. And we're talking about people starting with Aristotle that long ago,
Oh,
all the way up to today.
wow.
Okay, so
It's
this
like
is
a cult,
it's
sounds
like a
like.
cult. It's like an obsession. I mean, once the scientists get started with eels, they can't get it out of their system. It is the
Wow.
funniest thing. And I get it because the eel is a remarkable, remarkable animal.
I think it looks just like a snakefish. That's how I think of it. But I'm
It
no,
does look like a snake. And
I'm,
so most people, many, many people are put off by eels, including me. I mean,
yeah,
I thought they looked like snakes. I thought they were snakes. I knew nothing about eels when I took on this project.
yeah. I'm not letting them in my bathtub. That's for sure. I don't know what that means. But let's see. The eels are nature's Rorschach test. What we think about them reveals not much about them and a lot about us. Oh, really? So
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe I need to see a therapist then, evidently, about my issues with the eels. Show me
Well,
on the eel where the eel hurt you.
well, Freud messed with eels.
Did he?
So,
He
if
sounds
you're
like
if you're
that kind of
talking
guy.
about the phallic nature of eels, I hear
Oh,
what you're saying,
is that
right?
what he's?
But no, no, Freud, he had his little project was not about the phallic nature of eels, but a lot of people think it was.
Um,
Yeah, I think the eel is many people are terrified by eels in literature and in
yeah, it's
movies.
like a slippery snake, eh?
Oh yeah.
Like,
I
yeah,
mean, you wouldn't believe how many films and books involve this, horror stories
yeah.
involve eels, people being trapped in a pool with eels and being eaten alive, the
Or
screeching
shocked to death.
eels and right screeching eels and Princess Bride, all these in
Hmm.
novel after novel, they are featured as really bad guys. Okay, Marvel
Yeah.
Comics has evil eels.
Wow.
Yeah,
Poor
yeah.
eels need to get a better PR agent, basically.
They do. They
Yeah.
do.
Well, you wrote the book on them, so I think you've put yourself forward.
Well, let me just say, unlike some of the scientists I profile in the book, I'm not going to go swimming with eels. Okay,
Yeah, that's probably.
I did not fall in love with them, but I was absolutely fascinated by them.
Yeah. So you become an eel people?
I will never be an eel person.
Huh.
My relationship with nature is best put as uh, precarious. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
scared of bugs. I'm scared. I'm scared of spiders. I'm scared of snakes. And it took me a while to learn that eels were not a threat to me. Right.
Wow.
So I'm not an eel person. However, I have to say what I found incredible about this creature is how their history, how their understanding of them kind of parallels the history of science.
Hmm.
Because scientists, as I said, since Aristotle, have been fascinated trying to figure out the answer to the big eel question. Okay, this is eel question. That's like this huge mystery in biology.
Huh.
And so many people have devoted their lives to trying to figure it out.
Huh.
You
What's the
want
mystery?
The mystery is there are two of them. One, how do these things reproduce? So eels are
Very carefully, so
so
they don't shock each other.
right. They're so common that 100 years ago, they constituted 50% of the biomass in many rivers, lakes
Wow.
around the world. I mean, they were everywhere. They're
Wow.
very, very popular food. They were everywhere. And yet no one had ever seen them do the deed, right? No one
Huh.
had ever seen an egg or seen actually a sexually mature eel in the open ocean. No one had ever seen them. So the theory was, stretching all the way back from Aristotle, they generated spontaneously. It was spontaneous generation, which is a discredited theory, but it was a very popular theory for hundreds and hundreds of years. And the eel was a prime example of spontaneous generation, like it just came out of the air or it came out of the mud. So
I think someone wrote a book about that of some guy. There was some spontaneous combustion that went on. Some Mary or Jesus or something. I don't know.
Spontaneous combustion, or that actually happens, but spontaneous generation, yeah, that doesn't
generation, combustion. It's all the same.
Right. Doesn't happen.
It's all science.
Yeah.
I do know how eels reproduce. Brothels. They go to a lot of brothels. That's why no one sees them, because they're usually in a brothel when it happens.
Well, but you have seen them in the brothel. Is that what you're saying?
I did, actually. I was just there running security. I was
research purposes?
Research purposes.
All right, I hear you.
I was there. A friend told me. So there you go.
Yeah, for a friend. I hear you.
They're in the brothels giving people the slippery beast. I don't know what that means. Anyway, so do we get both questions or both?
No. The other question is, okay, so if they do breed, which they do, by the way, they're not spontaneously generated. Where does it happen? Where does it all happen? Because no one, as I said, and to this day, by the way, no one has spotted an eel in the open ocean. Okay,
really?
Nope, or found an eel like nope. And they're using all sorts of technology. They can't see these things. What they do know now, after hundreds of years of research, is that the eels spawn in the Sargasso Sea, which is south of Bermuda. And I went there to hang out with the scientists who were looking into this question. They're trying to track down precisely where they spawn. And then after they spawn, the Atlantic eels, which are the European and the American eels, swim up the east coast of the United States, up to Maine, up to Canada as well. And they are larvae at that point, right? So they start off, they mate. As soon as they mate, they die. Okay, the mature eels die immediately after they mate. And then the larvae swim up over 1,000 miles up to Maine, in our case, in the case of my book, and then become a glass eel, what's called a glass eel, which is a transparent eel. It looks, really kind of bizarre. It's like a bloated toothpick, but it's transparent. Then as it crosses over the continental shelf and comes into the rivers, it turns into an elver, which is pigmented. And then it swims inland as far as the Mississippi. It swims, sets up shop in some lake or pond or someplace like that, and stays there for up to 50 years before turning around as a mature silver eel, swimming all the way back and going back to the Sargasso Sea. It no longer eats on that trip home. It lives on its body fat and its own bones. Gets all the way back there, spawns, and dies. So that's the life cycle we think of the eel, but we're not sure. Okay, we're still not sure. And I hung out with a scientist. I called him the Ahab, Captain Ahab of the eel, who is still launching these expeditions, trying to figure out, unlock all these secrets of the eel. But there are tons of scientists all over the world working on this problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just to figure out how eels breed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how stupid people breed. Oh, wait. I think I know.
Not that way.
Not that way.
Not that way.
Booze and cocaine. So there you go. What else do we need to know, or what do you hope people come away with when they read your book?
Oh, there's all sorts of things. I mean, one of the things that I found, as I said before, was this amazing trajectory of eels through history, and how all these scientists were just fascinated by them, obsessed with them, literally died trying to solve these problems, answer these questions. There's quite a story in that. The other thing I'd like to think about in the book, and what I learned, was just how far people will go to answer questions. There's not a lot of money in solving these scientific questions, right? And yet people devote their lives to them because they're committed. It's sort of a testament to human perseverance and curiosity, right? Which
Wow.
is really something.
Yeah. I mean, some scientists are really into eels, and now journalists. So there you go,
Right.
telling their stories. It's
Yeah.
crazy, and they live an interesting life. I mean, that's a lot of money for some fish. But
Yeah.
what do I know?
Yeah. But remember, those baby eels are tiny. They're about
Yeah.
2,500 of those to a pound. So you have to think of those almost like tomato seeds,
Oh wow.
because each one of those little elvers is going to grow up into a pound of eel, right? So
Wow.
that 1 pound, will be, 2,500 pounds of eel. That's why it's so valuable.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
And he's gonna just end up in soy sauce and that green stuff. I forget what it's called.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. Well, this has been fun to have you on the show. This has been
Well,
Eel Talk Podcast. You've been on. Maybe we
do you
need to
know the
start a
rock
new.
group? You know the
I,
rock group, the Eels?
oh yeah.
Yeah,
There
you
you
should
go.
play that music on the way out. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe you need to start your own eel podcast. Talk about the book and have guests on to talk about eels and just be a whole subgenre
Yeah,
of
yeah. I think
eeldom.
that'll leave you with the podcasting, but
Yeah,
thanks. It's a good suggestion. If I could make $2,500 a pound doing podcasts, maybe I would do it.
there you go. Well, I'll wait for book 2, Slippery Beast, the one who got away or something. I don't know. So
Okay.
there you go. Well, thank you very much for coming to the show, Ellen. Give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs.
Thank you. So it's ellenshell.com. And the book again is Slippery Beast, a true crime natural history of eels.
There you
With eels.
go. There you
Yeah.
go. The exciting, riveting Book of Eels. Thanks for coming to the show, Ellen. And thanks, Ronnis, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss, one of the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next